Welcome back, my Silverage players. Following on from my previous video about the legends, we're going to go into the guns for this one in Season 9 going into Season 10 because we're expecting a lot of changes in Season 10. Now, premise with this video is that it's not about what is the best weapon in the game. This is going to be about how to find the gun that you enjoy playing with most. And also more about each gun's sort of situational use, the difference between a few different classes of guns, and the fact that we have so many guns. We have 3 pistols, 4 shotguns, 4 snipes, 4 marksmen, 3 light machine guns, 4 submachine guns, and 4 assault rifles. So in terms of sheer numbers across a different class of guns, it's pretty balanced. You're looking at 4 or 5 for most classes. And actually, the short answer, if you're looking for what the best combination of guns in the game, because remember you can carry 2 guns, it's going to be a combination of an assault rifle and a shotgun. Typically, if you care about competitive, you're looking at a Flatline or an R301 and an EVA 8, basically, and you're good to go. In arenas, maybe swap out the assault rifle for a submachine gun with the R9 or the Bolt, just because it's going to be more close range. But if you are here, and that's great, and if that's what you want to know, great, fantastic, have a nice day. Please leave me a like and enjoy. For everyone else, this is going to be what is each gun really good for? So we've got like the P2020, and typically you think about the Mozambique as the 2 sort of baseline, lowest tier, probably off the drop guns along with the RE45. And they are very close range initially, but in Apex Legends, not every weapon is as it seems. So let's jump into a firing range and we will go through these weapons from close to long range. I'm going to do. And we'll work our way through the different classes, but I'm also going to talk about the ammo types as well, because even though there's a pretty well balanced loot pool in terms of weapon class, actually the ammo type is in no way balanced, if I'm honest. That is somewhere where there needs to possibly be some work done. What I mean by that is, now if we look at it as it's laid out in terms of ammo type, you only have, well, at the moment, 3 snipers in terms of ammo type, because the Kraber will always be in the care package. You've got 6 light ammo guns here. 6. And then here we have only 5 heavy weapons, because 1 is in the care package, which is the Prowler. And only 4 energy weapons. And the triple take was an energy weapon before it became a sniper and then became a marksman type. But I believe it'd be interesting to see what type of ammo that's gonna, if that comes out the care package, whether it comes with sniper ammo or energy ammo, because it's actually a marksman rifle. So it can't really have the snipes. It might have an energy ammo pickup, so it could be bearing up to 5 energy weapons. And then we have 4 shotguns. There's nothing extra with that. That's all there is. And then we have the bow, which is a marksman type. Well, not a gun, it's a bow, marksman type weapon, but it has its own ammo, which is the arrows. And of course there is no specific marksman type ammunition. It's the only class of weapon that doesn't have its own ammo type, save the bow having the arrows. So for example, the G7 is still a light weapon even though it's a marksman. The Repeater 3030 is a marksman even though it's a heavy. And of course that would mean the triple take should come out as an energy weapon marksman if it ever does leave the care package. So let's start with, here we are, light weapons, P2020. It's it's a quick fire, it's just a pistol. If you've got a quick trigger finger, it's not bad. This is for people who have a fast trigger finger, who just need a scope, maybe a mag, and that's all they need. Good at the start of arenas, and you can hit your shots. If you can hit your shots as a trigger finger puller, this thing can actually do a lot of damage. It used to have the hammer points, which just made it crazy deadly, because you only had to break the shield and then it was like 2 shots and you pop somebody and they're dead. But now that's been removed, it's been nerfed, but it's got an increase in mag size, slight increase to the damage rate and fire rate, I believe. And now as long as you hit your shots, it's not as terrible as everyone says. Straight off the drop, you've just got to have a really quick trigger finger and good accuracy, and you can probably still do some serious damage with this. We compare that with the R45, similar thing, but it's full auto. So it's a bit like the P2020, but it's a full auto pistol. Look at that. It's quite difficult to control sometimes, especially with 2-scope. It's possibly too much for the RE45, but if you're looking for something lightweight, easy, quick reload, and you just want to hold fire and go, you want to move about a lot as well, because it's a pistol, they have very little ADS restriction. You can sort of stray and just kind of spray and pray people with this. As long as you've got an extended mag, you can probably one-clip somebody with that. So that's kind of fun. Those two pistols, pretty fun. I'd love to see a pistols only LTM maybe, or takeover at some stage of arenas possibly. That would be really, really cool. Let's take a look at the wingman, the last pistol, last close quarter combat. And I say that hesitantly because the wingman actually works as a marksman. And again, we're starting to get into the blurriness of Apex Legends weapons. So normally, bam, bam, you know, it's a bit of a, I guess you'd call this a revolver. Some people call it a deagle, but it's kind of recoil and reload is very much of the revolver. So imagine you're a 6-shooter sort of weapon, that's what this is. You know, it's not great on hip fire if they're not moving. If they are moving, it kind of weirdly counteracts the strafe because it's such slow bullet speed and such crazy, like, difficult aiming close range. But then the real advantage of this weapon is when you go into long range, right? So you've got these crazy shots that you can do. Look how far this bullet travel goes. Like, just imagine that is, it's almost 400 meters, I believe. It's like 380 meters from there, and you're using a pistol to hit people, and you can still move and strafe as well. So you can, like, sort of long range people like this, and still, like, dodge what they're firing back if you're trading damage. And it does as much damage as some of the marksman rifles, actually. The headshot as well is crazy strong, because it hits almost 100. You're sort of competing with the longbow headshot at this stage. It's just very difficult to hit, but when you hit, it is devastating. That's a very popular gun. A lot of fun to play with because it's just such a small, devastating thing. So that brings us with the pistols. I'm now going to go into the shotguns as our next before we get into the SMG, because we'll stick with the slower firing first, okay? So we've got here, you've got your Mozambique, which is just a handheld sawn-off kind of easy, quick shotgun. And it's actually, like, it used to be awful. It used to just be really memed, really, like, unpopular. But it's actually really fun, and people forget this is an automatic shotgun as well. Like, you can just hold it down, bam, 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 zero recoil pretty much as well. So it's actually pretty good now. And it's when it had the hammer points again, it was crazy. Maybe they'll come back one day. That's Mozambique. A lot of fun off the drop. Initially, if you haven't got too much to worry about. Then we're going to go to its bigger brother, the EVA 8 Auto. Again, it's auto because it's an automatic shotgun again, so it can just bam, 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 bam with very little recoil between each shot, because it just resets nicely back. Even on the hip fire, it's like I'm not touching the right stick at all, and you can just hold down that button all day long, and it will hit the same shot every single time. So that's why this is one of the most competitive guns, because it's pretty much no recoil. The fire rate's pretty good, even without a bolt. If I put a bolt on this, bam, 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 bam. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And let's move it on to the Peacekeeper. Our first sort of big, heavy hitter. This thing has a choke built into it. You can see you can turn the choke off, you can turn it on. This used to be a hop up, then when Triple Take got put in to the care package, it just became as part of the gun, because otherwise there's no point in having one hop up for one gun in the loot pool. And this thing, so you put the choke on, you see it zooms in, and that makes it more accurate. If you fire without it, you're probably not going to hit the same damage, so you can do like nearly 100 damage. If you just try and hip fire it, it's not going to do as well. So this is more of a slow pace, cock the gun, a bit like Terminator. That's what's fun. It feels like Terminator. You want to have like a spin, like spin it around kind of thing. It'd be really cool. There's a quicker reload as well. Actually, if you reload before you run out of ammo, you will load quicker. So Peacekeeper's a good, fun, heavy hitter. Like bam, bam. Like you can just have a lot of fun with that. And see a lot of people having fun. And then the Mastiff, which is then even the biggest shot. Look at the size of this Mastiff. It's huge. And it kicks hard, as you can see. That's mostly, though, just the animation of the recoil. The actual recoil, the aim, doesn't really change. Even with this. Even with a quick fire, like, I'm not actually touching the right stick, and I'm hitting the same spot every time. The gun, even though it flies up in the air, your crosshair doesn't. So don't be fooled by the animation on that. It's not crazy recoil, it's just the animation to make it look really cool and make it stand out from the other shotguns. So shotguns are a lot of fun in this game. I really hope we get a return of the Armed and Dangerous LTM when it was just snipers and shotguns. Let's move on to some SMGs, and we're obviously going to start, because we're going close range and small guns first, we're going to start with the Alternator. Which, yeah, it's an SMG. It looks like a pistol. It's pretty small, pretty easy to handle. It's called the Alternator because it has alternating barrels. So you see like left and right, so right and left bullets kind of flying out, because it has two barrels and they fire individually, which gives it much more stability between each shot and the recoil as well. So it's quite an easy gun to use. It's a good start for the SMGs because there's 16 damage, is as much as I believe the R301 or even more. So it's a pretty stable, pretty easy gun. As long as like you don't come up against something ridiculous like the assault rifles or the R9, you're probably going to do pretty well with this gun. If you've got lots of attachments on it as well, if you get a fully equipped version, like you get barrel stabilizer on there, you put like a digi threat, you can even put a stock on this because it is actually an assault rifle, well, SMG, and then you put that on and it's like zero recoil. You just beam people with this. It just becomes ridiculous, even at range. You can just mow people down with that, which is pretty crazy. You can use it at range. So look, so there's the thing, bam. Ooh, nearly. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Imagine, am I going above the target? A little bit. There we go. Oh wow, so you could almost use this at range as well, because it's so stable. Let's move on to the R9. So then we have its bigger brother, again, is the R9, which is one of the most popular guns in the game because it is just absolutely crazy. The fire rate, the spray. If you want speed, this is the gun. This is so much fun because of the sheer speed and spray and pray. That's what's always really hard to control. It's so difficult, but once you've learnt it, this thing can be pretty devastating. So this is a gun worth putting time into if you want to have a lot of fun and consistency. If you just want to go crazy, this gun is a lot of fun in terms of just spitting bullets. Just spitting out bullets, and again it's one of the most popular guns in the game for that reason and used a lot. Similarly, if we finally get onto our first energy weapon, which is the Volt. Against an SMG, it's not as fast as an R9, but it's so much more stable, so much more controllable. I mean, I always say this is an assault rifle in terms of control. I know I've got a stock and a barrel stabilizer on it, but I mean, you can beam people with this. So that's quite good if you're looking for something like an SMG that's a bit easier to handle than an R9. The Volt is your gun, absolutely. There's a lot of fun in Titanfall 2. It's another Titanfall 2 weapon, and it can be a lot of fun. Energy weapons are renowned for being sort of high-end damage and much more easy to control and just beaming people kind of weapons. So Volt's pretty good for that. I think that's might be it in terms of SMGs, I believe. Yep, we are. So after the SMG, we've got through our close range weapons. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot. Because it's a care package weapon, of course, that's what I'm thinking of. We have the Prowler, which is a burst fire SMG, which is not something you see that often in games. And you can see a lot of burst fire assault rifles, but a burst fire SMG, and so you fire 5 bullets at once. And it's a heavy type weapon, even though it's in carry height, but it probably still has the same kind of stats. It comes with a digi-threat, it's got its own ammo, and you can switch the fire type, so you can switch from that burst fire into full auto mode, and it basically just becomes an LMG, but with much better ADS and SMG kind of stats, and it's just crazy damage. Absolutely crazy. I mean, you're doing 15 to the body, 23 to the head. That's crazy. But so when the Prowler does eventually come back out of the care package, it will be a heavy type ammo weapon, meaning we will have all of the heavy weapons back with every class available, which will be really great. I'm a big fan of the heavy weapons because they're sort of high damage, they are more difficult to control. You get the high damage output and a high magazine, and it just feels good to hit those shots, and the weapons sound good as well. They do a much heavier bassy sound when you're firing the guns compared to the light kind of pitter patter of the light ammo weapons. So that's the SMGs. Okay, we're now going to move on to our assault rifles, I guess, is the next class up. And we have the stable sort of pin of the assault rifle class, the R301. This is the benchmark weapon of pretty much the entire game. If you want to compare any weapon to any other weapon, you kind of start with the R301, because this thing is just like, it's versatile, it's very stable. Even without any attachments, it's sort of as stable as if you had a fully equipped alternator. So it's pretty easy to use. That's why a lot of people go for it, because you don't have to do much to learn this gun. You're going to find it quite commonly around. The ammo type, ammo is probably the most common you'll see for a while, because this has the most weapons available in the loot pool, so it makes sense for it to look more ammo. It does take a lot of attachments, is the only downside. I mean, you've got the Anvil receiver, you get a stock, you get a mag, you get a barrel stabilizer, you get a scope, and it's fully equipped and good to go. And when it does, though, if you've got that, that's it. You're going to win like every fight with this thing, and it becomes useful in every situation, because it can also have the long range with the Anvil receiver, and there's not even that much bullet drop, to be honest. I mean, you can hit some crazy range shots. I mean, I'm almost exactly where the crosshair should be for close range, and it's still hitting that range. And that damage 35, you're looking at more than a G7, which is the light ammo marksman. So the Anvil is super strong on the R301. You pick up this gun, you're going to have a good time all day long. However, after a while, you might start to get a little bit bored, because it's so easy to use. So it depends what you want to do. If you want to play good and play competitive, you pick up this gun. If you want to have fun, maybe try varying up with some other guns, actually. Okay, speaking of, let's go to our next one, the Hemlock. The first heavy ammo type assault rifle. There's actually 2. There used to be 3 before the marksman came in, and that was the repeater, but now we just have the Hemlock and, of course, the Flatline. So the Hemlock is our other burst type weapon, a bit like the Prowler. So it fires 3 bullets this time, but they do more damage. It's 20 damage to the body per bullet. And you can switch to single fire, and then it's also 35 to the head. So that's pretty good. Like I say, you can switch to single fire as well, but the single fire is, again, like the P2020 we saw earlier. It's all about your trigger finger. If you've got a fast trigger finger, this gun can do some pretty serious damage. It's very stable, very quick firing, very easy to control. It's pretty damn good at that if you are feeling like your trigger finger's nice and warmed up. Otherwise, you stick to the burst, and again, it's still pretty damn strong. You can probably down somebody in 2 or 3 bursts. And I haven't even got an extended mag on this, actually. You start with 18 bullets, meaning you get about 6 bursts per magazine. And that's quite a lot, actually. That's quite good in this game, especially on a high sort of time to kill game like this. So, great gun, gets slept on a lot. But actually, if you're looking for something just a bit different, if you want to play something a bit more out there, a bit different, it's not fully auto, and you're a bit kind of, or you're just practicing your aim a bit as well, so you're not entirely like controlling all the recoil of a full auto mag. This really helps, like, can help you control, because it only does the burst, so you always have to reset with the recoil, which is just so good. let's go on to the Flatline. Its counterpart, which is the auto rifle. And this is your standard AK-47. You can tell by the banana-shaped mag there. That you'll see in most games, that a lot of people pick up as a versatile all-rounder weapon, a bit like R301, but it does more damage and has a bigger mag. But it does have more difficult to control recoil. So if you've got really good recoil control, stop being lazy with the R301, pick up a Flatline and get good with that, because it also picks up the Anvil receiver. And when you've got full equipped like this, it can be pretty damn deadly. You go to single fire mode and you're doing 43 to the body, 75 to the head. That's marksman rifle territory. It literally becomes a marksman. Again, it can do the range, no problem at all. It's got a heavy bullet drop though because it's heavy ammo. So it has something I've not really fully understood is the light ammo guns have less bullet drop than the heavy ammo weapons. So I guess that's in the name, but the heavy ammo weapons should have possibly longer range, I would argue, especially the difference between the Rapido and G7 we'll get to. But yeah, the all-rounder gun, I mean, you don't even really need a second gun when you're in game and you've got this, as long as you're good at quickly swapping the fire rate as well when you're moving from mid-range to a close-range push. This can be a lot of fun. All day long you can use this and you'll just have good games. Similarly, we will get onto LMGs shortly. In fact, let's go on to LMGs. So that's the assault rifles. We'll go into LMGs in a minute after we've done the Hemlock, which in itself kind of is an LMG actually. You can extend mag on this. You have 36 bullets and you can put a turbocharger on this. Now the reason why there's a turbocharger, because the Hemlock has a charge up time. So you're holding the fire button and you've got to wait like a second, maybe a second and a half before you can fire, and then the recoil is crazy. It's like it just goes nuts. Like, it's a very difficult gun to sort of horizontally control, but if you can, it has so much ammo, like it doesn't matter if you miss a couple of shots and you're still doing like 18 damage a bullet as well. So this is it's the closest thing between an LMG and an AR. So if you're looking for the biggest, baddest AR in the game, it's the Hemlock, if you don't care what anyone says. And then you whack a turbocharger on this, it eliminates the charge up, so it comes constantly charged. You see it's nice and glowy there. And it's just like bam, 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 bam. And that's, you can almost single fire. It doesn't have a single fire option, but if you just tap the single fire, you can get the same effect. You just have to manage to recoil a little bit more. And otherwise you just hold it down and it's just full speed beaming, one mag on a full extent, you just destroy people. This would be interesting to see going to the care package with a turbocharger. And then LMGs, it's interesting to go from the Hemlock onto LMGs because two of the LMGs are energy weapons. The third is a heavy weapon, the Spitfire, which we will return to. Well, we're going to start off with obviously the Spitfire as the lightest sort of LMG, if that makes sense, because it still has good movement and it's the smallest, but it has insane bullets. Look at that, it's a giant fireball of a bullet, which is crazy. It's kind of slow, but there's like 0 bullet drop. That's absolutely crazy. So this thing, and you can fire this all day long. This is the party piece of the L-Star, right? If you're sick of reloading guns and you want fun, you just want to blast people all day long, just pick an L-Star because you will never have to reload. You can just keep firing. Now the trick to it is because you can do that, there's an overheat. There's a little bar at the bottom. I do have another video on my channel you can probably find if you look for the L-Star video I made where I do a full 900 mag, because you know there's no mag, it just stores energy. But you can fire probably up to nearly 1,000 bullets without ever having to stop or reload if you can control the overheat, I guess. If you let it overheat after about, I believe it's about 25 bullets, then you have that quick reload of the overheating unit. Even then it doesn't take that long. It's like in, boom, done, good to go. So the Alpha is very strong, crazy bullet size, creates a lot of chaos. You can't really see after a while what you're shooting. It's got good hip fire. You're going to have fun with this weapon all day long. And let's go with the Devotion. So this is where the upgrade of the Havoc happens. So again, it can take a turbocharger, and again, that's because, like the Havoc, it has a charge up time, but not in the same way. So what it means by that is it starts off kind of slow on the fire rate, and then if you hold it down, it gets crazy fast. So this is the most sort of LMG-like LMG in the game, if I'm honest. It's got difficult control, but once it gets going, it's utterly devastating. I very much imagine this being like mounted on like a ledge or something. Like if you could mount guns like that and just beam people and like have a wave of enemies that you would just like mow down with this thing, like to go, and that would be amazing. And then you slap on a turbocharger on this. Here we go. And you get full speed off the fire. It's a tiny build up, because otherwise the recoil would be impossible to control. But you can just absolutely mow people down with that. Although I'd still probably pick up a Havoc turbocharged over a Devo, just because of the sort of mobility you still get with the AR and the accuracy, and just like the mag size. I mean, is still good if you have an extended one. If you extended one on the Devotion, it can go up to 48, nearly 50 bullets, and that's quite a lot on a gun with this kind of fire rate. That's still gonna last. That's a lot of fun. And this is just crazy. Like, just it becomes a monster. This thing. It used to be a care package weapon. There's a good reason why. Right, the most controversial weapon at the moment is the Spitty. And if you are new to the game and you look at these ones, oh my god, what do I use? This is crazy. This is a good one to just have, like, that you'll find quite easily, and you can just play quite casually, and you don't have to do a lot of work with. It's really easy to control. Hipfire is still good on it as well, even though they've nerfed it slightly, but the hipfire nerf really only takes place later on in the magazine. So if you burst fire the hipfire, it's actually not too bad, and then ADS is absolutely fine. You can do everything with this gun. Like, you can do range, and it's like not a problem really. I mean, that's crazy. At 300, I'm nearly hitting that. My aim is not incredible, but yeah. For an LMG, this thing behaves like an AR. Okay? So if you're looking for something just a bit bigger than a Flatline, a bit more kind of meaty than a Flatline, that makes really cool sounds, looks really cool, and you can still run around with them like this giant thing, then the Spitfire's your gun. I mean, you can't really go wrong with this. To be honest, it's pretty good where it is. You'll have fun all day long with it. A lot of people complain about it because it's too easy to use, but you need to have guns that are easy to use. But people are just jumping into the game, and it's a shame that the competitive kind of players who have the talent to play with something like an L-Star or to play with the Hemlock and really show how good they are, just are being lazy and just picking up R301s and Spitties and Flatlines and just beaming people to hell with that and just shredding people, because it's just the easiest weapon and least effort, and that's just kind of lazy in my opinion. But there we go. Fight me. Speaking of fighting, it's now on to the Marksman. So whilst I've got a bullet bullseye on the back of my head, let's get on to the G7. I'm going to leave the bow check probably till last. Not just because it's the other end of the fire range, but because it's a unique kind of weapon that behaves in a totally different way. So the G7 used to be an AR, actually. And I believe in Titanfall 2 it is, when it was like the G5 or the G6, whatever it was called. It is actually an AR. And it's a light ammo, single fire. There's no full auto with this. It used to have a hotbar called double time, which made it a little bit more auto, but it's just a single fire, gigantic P2020. So imagine you could do this. If you're good at single fire with P2020, but then sort of you need to do more damage, you need to be more effective, pick up a G7 and you'll be just as effective and do some crazy damage. The fire rate is amazing. It's doing 34 damage a hit, so that's the R301 Anvil damage you're doing. So for that reason alone, and like you don't really need a lot of attachments on it, you can pick it up and straight away start fighting with it and do some crazy damage. So this is a really good one to start with on the single fire weapons. If you're looking for something for that, if you want to practice your trigger finger, G7's a good one to go with, and it's got good range. It's a marksman, so that's why they're called that, because you can do it from range, and you can do it sort of mid-range, but then up close and personal, this is where they're not as good, because the fire rate's just not going to be as good as like an R9, or maybe some of the LMGs, or even the shotguns. You're going to struggle to win that fight with the hip fire, and if you go into ADS, you're going to be moving so slow, you're just going to get shredded. So be careful with the marksmen, that's not really going to work up close for you. Especially with the G7. However, let's try and look at something that's a bit different. This is the great thing about the marksman rifles, they're all completely unique in their own way. So the repeater has like a little charge up thing on the side, so you should be able to see either side of my 2 scope the bars rising up, and that's because if you hit the thing straight off, it does 42. If you let it charge up, 57 to the body, 100 to the head. That's if you let it charge up. If you don't let it charge up, you're only doing 74. So without letting it build up, you're wingman level, and then when you let it fully charge up, you're almost longbow level. So this thing has great potential to be really, really good, strong gun. It's good for range. It's got a very small bullet, but very accurate, precise kind of real shooting. If you can learn this gun, the heavy bullet drop is a bit difficult to use when it's really long range, but mid range this gun is where it's happy at. Really happy. And then if you want to have a bit more fun with this is where it gets really fun, because then you pick up the shatter caps. So now you go from this like single fire kind of tiny bullet, single reload as well. You can reload as many bullets as you want, or as little, depending where you're on the mag. You switch it over when you pick up the shadow caps. You see it's got that kind of 3 bullets bursting out on my bottom right of my screen there, and it has a different crosshair as well. So it goes from that crosshair to that crosshair, and the reason for that is because it becomes a shotgun. It becomes what if you remember the EVA 8 from earlier, that's what we've got. EVA 8 hip fire, but from heavy ammo, so it does quite a lot of damage. Similar sort of damage, similar sort of expectation. The EVA is a little bit more consistent, but you can still ADS this as well, but it becomes useless at mid-range, to be honest. I mean, back here you're not going to hit anything with the shadow caps because of the spread, so be careful. It's purely for when you're up close hip fire, so you're going from like a push with the repeater. You'll be like, okay, let's go, you get a headshot, maybe push, you got to remember to switch it before you jump in, and then you're coming in bam 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 to try and finish them off. Or in a panic situation, not the best time to remember to switch your fire rate. So that's probably why a lot of people maybe aren't used to this yet, and it came out this season, the shatter caps, which go on this gun. And then we finally get to the bow check, and then the triple take is a marksman, but it's in the care package, and it's as a marksman, it's more of a sniper rifle in my opinion, and you'll see why when we get to it. But let's quickly have a look at the bow check, which is again the latest weapon. Now when you pick this up, as you can see, no ammo in it. You have to pick up the ammo as well, but you normally find it with that ammo. Let's just do a bit of inventory clear out here. So you find these arrows, and it's single fire again, a bit like the G7 and the repeater, but it does crazy damage. And it also has a similar charge up to the repeater, so you're doing 25 if you just spam it, and then if you let it charge up, bam, 60. That is a crazy build up. So you can have it either like just hip firing it and just doing 25 quick shots if you're just trying to finish somebody off. If you want to do some real damage, you're following, you're leading a shot on someone, bam, you hit them, headshot, 105. I mean, you could 2-shot somebody with this because it's so crazy. But for the purple helmet, you're still doing 87 damage. So you have to learn it, you're not going to find it often, and you have to find the ammo amongst the crazy loot pool that already exists. So it's difficult to find a lot of ammo for. It does come with 2 hop-ups, Deadeye Tempo, being an increased sort of fire rate when you time it well enough. So at the moment it's like bam, 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 or you can just go bam, 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 bam. It speeds up. That's what Deadeye Tempo is. You have to get the tempo rise, it just hits the beam, and then you're fine. The shadow caps are the same as the repeater. It becomes a shotgun like that, but it's not very accurate, to be honest. I mean, it's slightly better at mid-range than the repeater with the shadow caps. But you're probably going to just stick with an EVA 8 if you're going to do that, to be honest, because you still have to wind the shot back and then fire it. which with the Dare Tempo combo, it does kind of work, but by the time you get to that point, the other person's probably just shredded you. So if you're a big fan of Destiny 2, you're a big fan of bows in general, or if you want to feel like you're in Lord of the Rings again, pick this up and have some fun with it. It can be great fun. Boom. I'm starting to learn this actually, and I'm actually really enjoying it, especially in arenas where you can just pick it up anyway. So that's why it's worth picking up. Triple take, is it worth picking up? This thing was an absolute beast since it came out because it's an energy weapon. It was a sniper. It now has the choke built in. It's not a care package weapon. I mean, it's just like you can do 92. I mean, that's 69 to the body as always, 92 to the head. And of course, it's a long range sort of marksman. But it has a weird spread. So if you fire it straight away, the bullets spread out in a sort of 3. You'll see here, bam, you get your 3 there, those 3 there. And if you choke it, it brings them all together into 1. So that's why the difference. If you quick fire it, you're spreading the bullets and they do maybe 33 damage each. And if you bring them together, you get the full 69 shot. Or is it 33? No, it's like 20 something. 23, isn't it? Wow, 23. Sorry, and then so 23 and then 69. If you can do that, this thing is just ridiculous. It went to care package because it was so strong. If it comes back out, like I said, hopefully it'll be an energy weapon marksman rifle. Rounding out the energy weapons are then only missing a pistol. Could we see a pistol in future? Let me know below if you think an energy weapon pistol, which I guess would be like the Desert Eagle energy weapon, that could be really, really exciting and different in this game. I don't know if people pick it up. It would be definitely a really interesting alternative to the Wingman. That would be so cool. Let's do that. And then we are done with the marksman. So that leaves us with, finally, and thanks for sticking around if you're still on this one, you're waiting for the big guns, the snipers. Here we go. So initially 3 plus the Kraber and the care package. So let's get into the sniper rifles. So we have longbow, charge rifle, and we have the Sentinel. Big, heavy hitting weapons, okay? You see them coming around the triple take, you think this is big and beastie. Let's go into the longbow to start with. So this is the lightest, if you want to call it light, sniper rifle. And you don't really want to be using a sniper rifle without a scope. I mean, it takes up a lot of the screen because it's such a long barrel. You're going to struggle to really properly hit your shots every time because unless they're not moving. And again, this is not a close range thing. It's the whole point of snipers. If you're somebody at first to sit back and support the team, maybe you're a lifeline or you're a loba, and you sort of kick back and sort of cover, and you're just supporting the team. You're just creating, going right. There's a damage. Push, push, push. They can push, and then you can follow up, but still stay at range, kind of picking people off. This is a really good gun for that. The fire rate is really good. It's kind of close to the G7, I guess, but you're doing 60 damage a bullet. So usually 3 or 4 bullets and you'll probably knock somebody, especially early on. That's pretty strong. The whole point of snipers, of course, is to have a scope though, so you can move up to the 4 to 8 and 6 scope and 4 to 10 digital threat scopes. So the marksmans go up to the 2x4 scope, as you saw in the triple take. Then we have a 6 times, which is just straight up downside. Kind of, this makes you feel like a sniper. The 6 times, the most I think out of them, because it takes up the whole screen like that in that kind of circular thing. And you can sort of see stuff that's like crazy far away. But it's only good for that. If you're like point blank range, it's like, well, okay, cool. But it's really hard to use it close range like that. So then we have the 4 to 8 scope. Now this is different. You can zoom pretty far in. I mean, that's 8 times zoom. I can literally zoom into his eye. But then again, long range is very useful. So you can zoom out, zoom in. So you kind of hitting people there, and then if they sort of back off or they manage to Valk their way out, you can zoom in a bit further. So it gives you a bit more versatility with that. And the longbow can do both of those. It's quite versatile sniper rifle in that sense. Then we have the digital threat as well, which we actually will put that on the charge rifle. Let's move on to the chargey. Charge rifle, this is a very popular early game weapon because it's a hit scan weapon. Doesn't matter how far away they are, where you aim is where it's going to hit. And it's got a slight kick on the recoil at the end, but that's it. So it's like 0 recoil, and it just beams like There's no recoil. I'm not touching the right stick at all with the beam. So again, it's a bit of a lazy one to choose if you're a sniper rifle, because it will just hit where you want to hit it. You don't have to learn anything. You just have to, like, you can beam, you can track the beam like that as well. So if somebody starts moving, it's not like you're stuck in one place. You can just track to beam them across. So you can just go like, where's that moving one up there? He's gonna come back. Yep. So he's coming out of cover and you just beam, smash. Like, no problem. So that's an easy one. It's kind of fun because it's a giant laser beam. It's like beam. It's pretty fun. So if you're looking for fun, great. If you're also looking more competitive, great, because you don't have to do anything, you can be lazy like all the pros and just pick up a charge rifle. Don't bother learning how to use the Sentinel. Don't bother how to learn how to use the Longbow. I say that because the Sentinel is quite difficult to use, but if you put the practice in, you put the work in, it pays off. I mean, you can do 140 to the head, and that's before I've even powered it up, which we'll get into now quickly. So with the sort of party piece of a Sentinel is its relationship with the shield cells. So you can see on bottom right now, it says 2 charge, press left, because I'm on controller, and that means I use up 2 shield cells. So I sacrifice my 2 shield cells, but I get crazy output damage. So this thing was already doing 140 to the head. Now, in its amped mode, 176. We're now getting into Kraber territory in terms of damage. And you can reload, you don't lose the amp. It's more of a timed thing. It's kind of like per shot, I guess. Even like body damage is still doing pretty decent damage. So it becomes a mini Kraber when you charge it up. So that's why it's worth trading out your shield cells if you carry quite a lot of them as well. I know I tend to end up carrying tons. Pick up a Sentinel, amp it up. The amp lasts quite a while, you know, I've only got 1 left, but is lasting pretty well. So even if I have to move, change position, or I haven't quite I know where they are, but I'm building up to run in to then take the shot, I have time to do that, and you can line it up and you can just like surprise people out of nowhere and just, yeah, it's pretty strong. 140. Remember, the charge rifle at full beam was still only doing about 90 damage. So even though you're guaranteed to hit them with the charge rifle with that beam, actually, if you can hit your shots with the Sentinel, it's going to be much more effective. So I'm glad to see some more players picking up and using it. It's a lot more fun. It looks cool. It's got a bolt action to it, which is just really cool in any game. Look at that bolt. That's so cool, the bolt action. And it feels good. It sounds good. Definitely worth picking up and playing and trying. If you're playing much more slow game or edge, or you just want to be a sniper for a while and hunker down, pick people off, the Sentinel is definitely your gun. Now, if you are lucky enough to make it towards endgame and a care package comes down, you are more than likely going to find this gigantic thing right here. This thing that's, I mean, I can't even imagine holding this thing. It must weigh an absolute ton. It's probably about as long as the length of like your entire body, and it has its own specialized scope, so you can't change the scope on it. It looks a bit like a 4-8, but I believe it's actually a 4 to, is it 4 to 10? 6 to 10. So we saw the 6 scope earlier as what it comes to minimum, but it goes up to 10, which is the digi threat. So it's a combination of the 6 scope and the 4 to 10 digi threat, but it doesn't have the digital threats. It's just that. It's kind of in between. It's kind of like an upgraded 4 to 8. And this is definitely long range. We're not using this close up. But if you hit the headshot, 435 with no helmet. So even with the petrol helmet, I believe it's more like 319. But nobody is surviving a headshot from a Kraber. You are getting knocked. That is, even if you're a Gibraltar or a caustic with 4 to 5, you are going down. Simple as. And then the body shot, 145. So that's where it's slightly weaker, because it's not that difficult to get more than 145 body shield at the moment. So if they've got no body shield, like I have right now, you'll take them down in 1 body shot. If they have 1 body shield, that's 150 already, just for a white body shield. You already have 150, so that wouldn't kill them, unfortunately. So if I hit, there we go, 145 survives with the blue. Let's have a look. So he's got nothing. Okay, he's got to come back. He might come back with a blue shield, because they all have different shields, I believe. So just wipe you out. That's probably why he's still alive, actually. Yeah, he's got the blue shield. A purple shield. Okay. Need someone with a blue shield. They all got purple. Okay. So with purple shield, you've got no problem whatsoever surviving. With anything less than a white shield, you'll down in 1 Kraber shot. So If you're going to hit a Kraber shot, hit the head. Is the only thing. You just got to hit the head, and it's very rewarding if you can hit the headshot. You can absolutely devastate lobbies with it. This is a real hunker down, just absolutely troll the lobby. The bullet drop is a bit difficult, as you can see from that range. Even though it's the longest range sniper, it does have a kind of difficult bullet drop to control, really. So you have to bear that in mind. It's probably got more bullet drop than a heavy weapon. It seems to be the lighter the ammo in this game, the less bullet drop you see, in energy weapon being certainly lighter than light ammo, I guess, because it's just energy, it's electricity. It can't have that much weight. So look at these ones. Yeah, the bullet drop is crazy. And they are, that's how far away these targets are. 700 meters away. I don't know if that corresponds well with the thing, so if that's 4, 5, 7 would be about there. Well, way over. It's a difficult one to learn. You're not going to find it often enough to really practice unless you're here in the firing range. So it's, by all means, pick one up. You see it in the care package, you're going to have like devastating fun, but you're going to struggle with it at the same time. So if you've already got like a Sentinel and you've got shield cells, or you've got a triple take, the Kraber's like not necessarily worth picking up if you want to win the match. But if you just want to like troll people and knock people in one shot and just shock people, then pick this up, find someone's head, and just obliterate it. And that's so far in Season 9, all the weapons in Apex. And it was such a long video because there are so many weapons. So you can understand why it's so difficult to balance all these weapons, to find a weapon that really works, and why so many weapons get slept on. So tell me what you are currently practicing with right now, what you're having fun with the most, and what you're looking forward to in terms of changes, especially with the care package, and what you think the new weapon is going to be, whether it is going to be the Dragon LMG, or if they're going to throw in a complete surprise with like an energy pistol. Maybe they'll throw in a new sniper, maybe we'll get something to go with the bow, or maybe just to also use arrows. Maybe a crossbow will come in instead of the compound bow. Who knows? Anything can happen in this game with the crazy weapons and just how blurry the differences between these weapons are. Thank you for sticking around. Please remember, always grow strong, learn fast, and please always be kind.